Are you interested in building a fractional C-suite for your business? What's up, blue collar business owners? Welcome back to the Blue Collar Prosperity Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Maska, where we focus on helping guide you to have a prosperous business. Today, we have with us Leslie Hasler. Leslie is a speaker, strategist, and best-selling author of multiple books. She helps business owners create predictable profits and scale sustainably through her fractional C-suite firm, Your Biz Rules. So that is Leslie Hasler. Welcome, Leslie. Thank you so much for being here. What is going on today?
Oh, I tell you, it's a good day, Paul. I'm glad to be here. Good to see you again. We were just chatting that we met way back when. We're not quite sure when it was because it was so long ago. So it's just good to be back here and have this fun conversation for your folks.
Yeah, I'm excited for the conversation. As you know, I do fractional CFO work, so I love the idea of helping our small business owners build a fractional team because it's things they need, but obviously they don't have the work or the bandwidth or the money to pay someone full time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we met probably 10 years ago. So I sold my first business in 2015, started doing some coaching and consulting, and I met Leslie through podcasting back then. So a lot has changed, a lot has stayed the same. But how did your journey start? How did you get going with Your Biz Rules? I know when we chatted 10 years ago, it was just you. Now you've got a pretty big, decent sized team to serve more small business owners. But give our listeners just kind of an insight into how you got started.
Sure. I'm going to drop in the origination moment, if you will. So I actually started in small business in 2007. And the company I had at that time was interior design and construction. So we did design build, if you will, on remodels primarily. Ran that business for 7 to 8 years. Stuff I liked about it, stuff I didn't like about it. And what I realized is that after 7 or 8 years of doing that work is what I really loved was business, not necessarily design. And if you don't love what you're doing, then, you need to go find what you love. So that is the origination of Your Biz Rules. So Your Biz Rules kicked off in 2014. We've been around for 11 years now. And like you said, I started out solo. And honestly, because of age and stage of my family and other commitments I had, I did not focus on growing this company to be more than just me. But then about 21, we made a decision. My boys were about to go to college. They were entering high school, and I was like, oh, crud. In 3 years, they're going to be gone. So really put intention towards scaling our own company. And today we're about a firm of 10 people. Don't have super huge goals there, but, definitely have had the opportunity to walk the talk, if you will, in our own journey and growth.
So let's get into what you do then. So some listeners probably know what a fractional C-suite is. Other people are like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So when a company or business owner comes to you, what problems are they looking to solve? And then how do you start solving those?
Oh, there's several problems. The high points, if you will. So money, cash flow is typically an issue. Growth and scalability can be an issue. Team can be an issue as well. Or it's really a case of the owner has some big goals and is kind of just spinning their wheels and wants another set of eyes. Or they're thinking about exiting their business. And they're like, what could I sell this business for? And they don't even know where to begin. So that would be pretty much the 5 big reasons people come in to work with us. And we're able to, like you said, a fractional C-suite firm. What is that? Well, if you think of what your C-suite would be, so your CEO, your COO, your CFO, maybe your CHRO, which is for human relations, maybe even a technology or sales and marketing. Like there are a lot of different elements that a businesses need, but majority of service-based businesses cannot afford to even hire 7 fractional people, much less 7 full-time people. We're just able to be a one-stop shop, and we're able to meet people where their needs are. And when they need something from one of those specialties, we bring that resource in and just work the problem. So I think it's for our clients, it's been amazing for the support that they get, and that we can, in one appointment, we can do a lot more than you might need to if you were having to source from 6 different firms.
That's awesome. So I wrote down the 5: money, right? Lack of cash flow. Love that conversation because, as you and I know, most companies don't have enough money in the bank to get to where they want to go, which means they can't grow, which is the second problem you said. Team, getting the team integrated, building the right team culture, right people, right seats, all the different things like that. They got big goals and they need help, or they want to sell their business. I would say almost everybody, if not everybody listening to this, is navigating one or multiple of those problems. I would say since COVID especially, and all the money in private equity that's come into the home service space, a lot more people are thinking about, what do I need to do in order to make this business sellable one day? Even if I don't sell it to private equity, maybe my general manager wants to buy it, maybe my kids want to take it over. They've really started to kind of put on that business owner hat, that I'm not just a technician that has people working for me. I am a business owner running something very valuable. So let's kind of go down that rabbit hole. When it goes to selling a business, what are the top 3 to 5 things we as business owners need in place to even have somebody interested in buying that business?
First off is the money part of it. There needs to be profit in the business. There needs to be more profit. The more profit that's in the business, the more valuable your business. For instance, we have a client right now that we're working on, service-based business, and our minimum net profit goal to be marketable as a business to be sold. Okay, so we're just saying marketable into the greater marketplace. We need to be at $500,000 in EBITDA. Right now, this company, not too bad. They're, at the low 6 figures in EBITDA. So we've got money to be able to play and create money. But I think a lot of people's financial management comes down to like a balanced checkbook and avoiding taxes. If you've got a history of avoiding taxes, yes, there are things called add backs. Yes, there are things that the accounting process can take care of. But you and I know that costs a lot of money when you start doing that. And when it's not documented multiple years in a row, you're going to put questions in the mind of the buyer. Our job is to eradicate those questions before the buyer even has a chance to ask them, and have a really good P&L statement. So first and foremost is the money. People are buying businesses for a return on investment. Even if it's not venture capital like you were talking about, maybe it's a guy that wants to take over your book of business and absorb it into his company, or somebody that's looking for something to do after retirement. And like you said, home service businesses are tremendous. They're the backbone of our world, our economy. So they're more attractive than I think owners necessarily realize.
So 500,000 in EBITDA. Basically, that's what our bottom line needs to be. Just simplified for all the listeners out there. People throw around EBITDA. Yes, when you go to sell your business, they're gonna value it off that. More or less, you need to be making at least $500,000 a year in net profit for somebody to want to buy that business for a multiple that would make sense for you to exit that company. Now, you mentioned something I want to kind of get back to it, of not paying taxes.
Yeah.
We don't like paying taxes, which means the only way we don't pay taxes is if we're not making money. If we're not making money, it's not really the best place to be. And how do you help business owners get over the mindset, even if they don't want to sell their business, but how do you get them over the mindset of, it's a good thing to make money, it's a good thing to pay taxes because it means we probably have more cash in the bank and we can scale and all that? How do we get them over that hump?
That hump's a mindset hump, right? And there are some tactical things we can do for that, but I do agree that paying taxes is a privilege of profit. And if the bigger goal is either profit, self-compensation, whatever, we want to make sure that we're maximizing that. But I do think there are some reasons that people don't like taxes. Number one is somehow it's ingrained in the American culture. I don't know why, but we're like, we don't like to pay taxes. We like to implement what I call profit first light. Most companies can't really do the truest definition of profit first. the cash flow is not strong enough. But one of the reasons that I've seen that people hate taxes is they're surprised by their tax bill, right? So we want to take out the surprise. It's something we've developed a little, and like I'm sure you do as well, we can approximate pretty darn closely what the taxation will be. The other part of that is we need the partner in there who is a tax expert who can help minimize taxes. So we like to say we're really good at making money and getting you and creating a tax burden. We need a partner who's really good at lessening the tax burden. So that's when people really can get more advanced financial strategies into play, where we're able to do things like maybe SEPs or 401ks to help offset some of the taxation. And it's another form of compensation to the owner, delayed compensation, but still, if you're ultimately looking to exit, you're probably looking to retire. So why not fatten up that kitty if you can? And there's a variety of products out there that can benefit that. So I think it's planning and it's minimizing the taxation. But I think above all, when the reasons that we come down and we have the feelings we have about money have to do with, do you feel safe? Do you feel secure? Do you have trust? Right? These three things like that, we can build those things with money management. But I think if we have to address the safety, security, and trust factor first, and then put in systems and processes and strategies that really help the owner be confident about what they're doing. Then we have one client that has a heck of a tax bill. I mean, like 42% of EBITDA has to go to taxes. It's a heck of a tax bill. There's no worry. There's no complaining, right? Because we've taken care of safety, security, and trust.
That's a great way to look at it, because that's usually what it comes from. And it's that, if you want to call it that scarcity mindset. But I tell everybody, I'd rather make $1 million and give $420,000 to the government and keep 580 instead of not make anything, right? I'd rather have 580 instead of just going to buy a bunch of stuff I don't need just to lower my tax bill, or not charge accordingly, or whatever it is to not actually have profit. And then we always do have that mind, like we're always stressed. We don't have the security. We can't scale confidently because there's never enough money in the bank. So for all the listeners out there, if you haven't read the book Profit First, read the book Profit First. If you don't have time to read books, you don't like reading books, Google it, go to ChatGPT. It'll tell you exactly what it is. But the concept is you've got to tell your money where to go. Otherwise, it's not going to be there. It's the Parkinson's law of money. So Parkinson's law of time tells you that your work is going to expand to the time you give it. And money does the same thing. So put your money in different places. You have a profit account, you have a tax account, you've got your operating account. If that's enough for you, at least it's something. So taking that into now, let's actually grow this business. Yeah. You had mentioned earlier that we need money to go make more money, but if we don't have any money, we can't grow. And it becomes this kind of vicious cycle of, I need cash to hire this person, but I don't have cash, so I can't grow, which means I'm not going to make more cash. And we just kind of get into this kind of trap, more in our mind than anything. But when it comes to growing confidently, other than money, what are some of the things that we need in place to be able to go hire that first service manager, or to be able to go hire that, first dispatcher, whatever it is? Because a lot of times our listeners, they were the technicians who started the company. Yeah. They weren't the business people. They were just really good at the service. They wanted to do it better. They started their business. But assuming we solve the money part, now what do we do to actually grow?
So there's a little bit of homework that people need to do that they try to skip over, because who likes homework? But we see not doing this homework as being the number one reason that this initiative, especially if you're going to hire, tends to fail. And that homework is just a little bit of documentation. A job description, an onboarding training plan. I think people go, well, I hired them. They should know what to do. Poof, magic, come into my business and know what to do from day one. I kid you not. I see it more times than not. To give you a story, one of the people that we're hiring that starts next week, incredibly experienced individual in alignment. I'm not going to have to teach him the fundamentals of the job per se, but I still have to teach him the fundamentals of the company. how we communicate, how we document, what are our client service goals, all those elements of it. And these are the building blocks of a culture. Now, when you're hiring your first person, if it's your first person, you don't have these building blocks. You don't have to build them all, but you do need to be thinking about them and starting to build them. And especially with that first hire, yeah, you can figure it out a lot going that way down. But if you're looking at hiring technicians, if you're looking at hiring technicians right now is really challenging. At least in our market, there's a lot of poaching going on. It's like, I can pay this person more, I can pay this person more, and people are hopping like mad because we just don't have enough of the workforce. Well, then thinking about these types of things at the beginning, you can concrete people in. Like in my brain, it's concreting. Like I'm going to bring somebody in, and then I need to get them cemented in place to where the move seems more scary than staying. Right? I need to make this nice enough that there's some sort of loss that they would experience mentally, meaning I'll lose out on this benefit. I'll lose out on this freedom. I'll lose out on this work environment type of a thing to shelter against the money, because money matters. And I think the statistic is that for employees, they need at least, I think it's like 75,000 up to that point in time in salary. It's all about the money. They'll jump ship for money. Once they hit that 60, 75,000 range, then it's about more. It's about other things than just money. So there are some psychological factors to think about creating an environment where your team is going to want to be a part of your team. So do a little homework to hire. If it's your first hire, don't worry about it all. Just start. And know that you're going to have to develop some things on it. It's going to be a little more cumbersome. It's going to take a little more time. But then really be building a culture that encourages people to stay in your company.
Yeah, and I love where you say you got to teach them how we do things within this organization, because what I've seen at least is a lot of the frustrations be like, Leslie just never sends me a Slack message. She just never responds. But I'm like, well, do you ever ask Leslie to respond, or do you tell her that's our expectations, or she doesn't like, it's like, well, we haven't had that conversation. Well, then she doesn't know that. So it's not, she's unintentionally ignoring you. It might just be, she's never used Slack, or maybe she doesn't check it and she doesn't have notifications on. It's a lot of times, like you said, it's just, they've got the fundamentals. They're coming in with something, but they don't know how we do it here and what the expectations and what do we value and what is our vision and our mission and all the other things that go along with it. Yeah. And I love the point of money matters up to a certain point, especially with the next generation, but then there's a lot of other things that they're actually looking for. What are some of those things that you've seen work really well? And it doesn't have to be trade specific, but just in companies in general, what is the quote unquote people that don't want to work anymore? What are they actually looking for when it comes to joining an organization?
I think people are looking for a place where they're valued, where they're heard, where they're seen, where they're heard, where they can have impact. When that's in place, like where they're in an environment that promotes them feeling good, they don't want to leave, because there's so many environments right now where you're just a number. You're a production cog. Push harder, do more, do more, do more, right? And it wears on people's spirits. I think the word freedom is a word that I hear a lot. And freedom, you would think freedom would mean the same thing to each and every person, and it really doesn't. So finding out what freedom means to them and whether or not that's an environment that you can support and give them that freedom or maybe even autonomy. I think flexibility is probably going to be one of them. Now, I know in home services that can present challenges. Our company is appointment-based, and we have an incredible amount of flexibility. So really rethinking about maybe some of the old standards that are very stern or rigid, and looking for opportunities for flexibility. You may have one employee that has a young family, and it just is super helpful for them to come in 30 minutes later than everybody else, because they get up and they start getting the whole household ready to go at 6. and still eight being at a job is hard. It's like they could get up at five, but somehow it's a balancing act there. So freedom, flexibility, impact, and then I'll say culture, which these all kind of wrap up into culture, but it does matter for people. They want to like where they work.
Yeah, and if they like where they work, they're going to produce a lot more. They're going to be a lot more productive. They're going to be more efficient. They're going to give a better customer experience because they're in a good mood. And like you said, it's changing what, people want the freedom and flexibility. Whereas 20, 30 years ago, it was like, no matter what, you're going to stay at the company that gave you the first opportunity and you're going to stay there till you retire. Like that doesn't happen anymore because people realize there's a lot more options out there and I want to at least enjoy what I'm doing. And to your point about the people with the young family, it's funny you mentioned that because I was thinking of it. A client of ours, their best producing technician is somebody that has to leave work at 3 or 3:30 every day because the wife is in like the medical field or something like that. Yeah. So sometimes they have to go pick up their kids from school or be there when the bus gets home. But they also produce really well. And they came there because they had the other company didn't let them do that, but they have the highest average ticket, best closing rate, things like that, where, you can't obviously just let them dictate the entire relationship, but if you can meet in the middle and they agree to, I can produce this in this amount of time, or I can do this if I get this, then there's nothing wrong with that, because what happens, in my opinion, and you probably see it, is then other people start to talk and be like, I want to work there too, because I actually feel heard and I feel valued and all the things that you just mentioned. So let's get into kind of one of the last things you mentioned, because I'm just kind of going down the list. We talked about selling. We talked about that led into money and growth and team, but big goals.
Yeah.
You probably see there's kind of plateaus that we hit. We can push to $1 million and then we need help. We can push to $2.5 million, then we need help. We can get to $5 million from there, and then we need help. There's like these different levels of like, we got to break everything down and rebuild things up.
Yep.
What are some of the big goals your clients have? What are the big things getting in the way of those goals, and how can we overcome them?
Big goals. So, wow, it's a wide gamut. We have one of our clients that big goal is, I think they're around 3 to 4 million. It's to double, and to do it in a way that is sustainable and feels light to the owner. Sometimes doubling can be very heavy. So we're really looking at the innovative ways we could do with that. We have some of our clients where it's not always a dollar amount. It is quality of life. It is impact in their business, or taking care of team, giving, bringing up the whole team standard, as it were. And what's always funny in those instances is, while people will say it's not about the money, it actually always is about the money, because it's the money that facilitates the soft stuff, right? The quality of life and the feeling like you can leave it for. So inevitably, we're the ones that says, okay, just tell me all the goody stuff that you want. And oh, by the way, that means this business needs to be X in order to be able to achieve it. Now, it's not usually some major increase, but usually it's like a 30%, 40%. And I guess in my world, I think major increase, like a 300%, something really complex that it would take a little bit of a time to get all the pieces into place. So there's, it really is a wide gamut. And I think this is important for the listeners to know, is, especially if you're going to grow and scale, understand why you're trying to grow and scale, what it is you think it will give you, or what it is you think you're chasing. So if it is money, if it's growth, if it's exits, or is it quality of life, define that really well, because how you grow or scale should align and deliver that reward. And I don't think people necessarily always connect the two. And that's really where a lot of people just spin their wheels, because they haven't connected the end result to the effort. And so they're, it's like trying to go to the grocery store and saying you want apples, but then you only go buy bananas, because you haven't done the little bit of work, the little bit of foundation to make sure that you're doing the right thing for what you want to achieve.
Yeah, I love that thought process too, because I feel especially now with social media and everything, just so much more content out there. A lot of times we even find our clients initial conversation, I want to get to X amount.
Yeah.
When you say why, they're like, I don't know. Right. Other than everyone says I should do 8 figures.
Yeah.
Or so-and-so did this, so I need to do that. And when we really boil it down, our belief aligned with yours is let's build a business that'll allow you to live the life of your dreams. And everybody's dreams are different. Some people might be, I still want to work, but I want to be, like you said, be done at 4:00 and I don't want to have to do marketing anymore. Okay, let's figure out what type of business we need to build. Or I want to sell this thing in 3 years, and up until then, I'm willing to work as hard as I need to. Or I want to put a GM in place, make $500,000 a year, and only sit on the board. Then we can reverse engineer, well, what type of business do we need to build? Who do we need? How much money, customers, all that kind of stuff. So I would encourage all the listeners out there to go through that exercise that Leslie said of like literally take an hour and look back and ask yourself, why did I start this business in the first place? What was I actually trying to chase? And it's probably way different than what you think you were chasing now.
It always is.
So as we start to wrap this up, we've talked about a lot of things: selling a business, making money, growing, building a team, culture, figuring out our why and all our goals.
Yeah.
We want our listeners to take action because we're overwhelmed by bright, shiny objects. Give our listeners one thing that they could do in the next 24 hours to move their business one step closer to where they want to be.
Sure. I want you to write down everything you're waiting and seeing on. When wait and see is the prevailing plan, we're going to wait and see. We're going to wait and see. We're going to wait and see. I want you to write all those wait and sees down on a list, and I want you to choose one to do. Like today. Start. Because truly the path to success is through action, and waiting and seeing is only delay. And so there's no value to waiting and seeing. And I often say waiting and seeing is not a strategic plan. It's indecision. We need to choose one, make a choice, and move on. And even if it's maybe not the quote unquote right choice, you're still going to learn from it. It will still have value, and it will move you closer to your goals.
That is phenomenal advice. Put that wait and see list together, y'all. Take action on one of them, and you'll find out exactly what happens. Leslie Hasler, thanks again for coming on the show, sharing your journey, and providing a ton of actionable advice, wisdom, insight, all the good things for our blue-collar business owners out there as we continue our journey to prosperity. Before we sign off, though, if any of your listeners are interested in learning more about what you do, connecting with you, what's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, so we have a special page just for you guys. It's going to be at yourbizrules.com/blue collar. What you'll see there is we'll actually have a link to a free book guide, if you will, as well as a link to our first book, First This, Then That, which is a lot of those fundamental tactical things that if you're going to grow, you probably need to be working on to prepare to grow. So that is there. And then if you would like to chat with us and see if we can help your business, there's a link for that as well.
There you guys go. yourbizrules.com/blue collar. Leslie, thanks for putting special landing page out there just for the guests. And again, appreciate your time today and helping out our listeners.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
And before we go, as you know, there are a lot of moving parts when it comes to creating consistent, positive cash flow. However, the journey starts with making sure you are priced right so you can have a growing and more profitable business. I've created a super easy to use pricing calculator for everyone in the trades. You will no longer have to guess what you should charge. You'll no longer have to call around your competition and see what they charge. This calculator is easy to use and will provide you confidence and clarity that you're actually priced right. It also comes with a step-by-step PDF guide and a video walkthrough. So head on over to thebluecollaradvisors.com/price. thebluecollaradvisors.com/price to download it today, and so you can start implementing it tomorrow. Until next time, remember, what got you here won't get you there. If you are ready for different results, it's time to start doing things differently.